Hello, welcome to Steve McDonald's Arts and Crafts, and today what I'm going to be doing is actually fairly a simple project, but I think it's going to come out and look really effective. And I'm making these for a friend of mine whose little girl is absolutely in love with Alice in Wonderland. So I got hold of these, which is a piece of decoupage sheet, and it's got 6 little pictures on of Alice in the Wonderland, and actually they fit perfectly with allowing a little border into these coaster blanks that I've got. I've painted them gold because this is very thin and the gold will actually give it a little bit firmer of a base. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out first, and then I'm going to attach these to the coasters, resin over them so they're nice and protected and clear. Probably put a bit of gold leaf around the edges, and then put picture hooks on them so they can be hung up on a wall in a set of 6. So without too much further ado, let's get on. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut these out. Now, I haven't actually tried to see whether my cutter will work with this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a quick try with that. Now, I am by no means a decoupage expert. In fact, I've not used it very often at all. But I have used it and I do love it because they do have some wonderful pictures. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut a little bit of this. And I think it's going to cut fairly okay. I have got a guillotine, but I don't think that will cut it as nice. Oh, that has cut it okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead, cut these out. And then when I've cut them out, I'll come back. These are all cut out now, and as you can see, they've cut out quite nicely. And they do fit onto these coasters really nicely as well, look. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to attach these to the coasters using good old Mod Podge. It's easy to prep these. I use just a normal acrylic gold paint on this to prime it, to give it that base. And it's been dry actually a couple of days, but normally I wait a few hours. I'm just dipping my brush in my Mod Podge. And I will do them one at a time rather than paint them all up. And I paint the whole thing because, like I said, it doesn't really matter. It dries clear. And I am going to put gold leaf around the edges. What you need to be careful is to get it on without getting it in the wrong place to start with, which is things I do quite often because this Mod Podge in this weather does dry quite quickly. So I'm going to check on where I want it. Because you get a little bit of movement in it. And there we go. I'm really happy with the placement of that one. I will let that adhere to that by tapping it with my finger. Although I will prep it once it's cured, ready for the final coat of resin to go over it. So they're done now, and they've had the picture stuck to the coaster blank. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go over the whole picture with Mod Podge and let that dry on all of them. And this stops, really, it acts as a barrier. It just stops any damage coming from the resin. You won't see this when it's done. It makes sure all your edges are down as well. It dries really, really quickly. And that way, your resin won't affect or do any damage to the final picture. But I always make sure I go up and down with the brushes just in case any of the brush strokes show. And then go across. Oh, a bit of dirt on that one. And I'll do that for all of them. These are dry enough now for me to be able to put the gold leaf glue on. And this is the gold leaf glue that I use. I will put the link to this in the description because actually it really does make a big difference to use the right gold leaf glue. And it does go a long way. Now, the eagle-eyed amongst you will notice, just as well I'm putting gold leaf glue on it, because I stuck that one on the wrong side because I wasn't paying attention. But it doesn't matter because the gold leaf will cover that up. I don't want the gold leaf to be a really neat, tidy edge either. So I'm not going to put it on in a really strict line. I want it to be a little bit more antiquified, I suppose, if the word is what I'm looking for. So I'm going to start with this one. I'll just do one and then I will show you how it works after I've done the other ones. The great thing about gold leaf glue is that once it's cured, once it's dry, it remains sticky, so it allows the gold leaf to stick to it and not come off. And I find that gold leaf works really well in resin. I always do pop a bit on the bottom of a shot glass because that way I don't tend to waste any. So, and I do tend to use a flat brush as well. So I'm just going to paint that on around the edges. Again, like I said, this isn't precise. I don't want it to be precise. And it takes about 15 minutes for it to dry before you put the gold leaf on it. Well, it is quite warm today. It might take a little bit less time. I'm just overlapping slightly from the border onto the picture. So there we go, that's that one done. I'll do the rest and then I'll leave them 15 minutes and then I'll show you how I put the gold leaf on. So I've got everything ready. My glue is on here that I need to be on here. I've got my little tub for my bits that I don't use because I collect them all up and use it in lots of different projects. I put them in resin, jewellery and things like that. So here's the gold leaf. It comes in this little tissue paper, which is very useful. So I use my tweezers. You can use static for this as well. I'll lift it up using my tweezers. I'll lift up the little coaster picture. I'll just pop it on, use a brush, and I will just put it on and it will stick to wherever that glue has gone. And I'm brushing it back towards the edge because, like I said, I want it to be a rough edge, not a clean, clear edge. And then I'll just pull that off. And I'll do the same. Now, I do sometimes use a brush made from hair and use the static in it to pick it up. But I actually can't find it, which is not like me. I'm usually very good at putting things away. And like I said, I just do want rough edges, so I'm not worried about having bits and patches of bits put in. And it does actually cling to everything. As you can see, it sticks nicely to where that glue is as opposed to anywhere else once you brush it off. And you can buff it up by rubbing your brush on, or you can use a nice cloth on it as well. So there we go, that's what they look like with the gold leaf on. I think it just finishes them off really nicely and gives it that nice quality as well. Makes it more like a picture than a coaster. These are ready now to have the pour put on, and all I've got them done is I save all these from when we have desserts and things like that, quick dessert. I wash them out and I use them underneath the actual pictures or coasters or whatever I've got. I've also checked that they're all level, and they are. And now I'm going to mix up my resin and do the resin pour. Well, I've mixed my resin up and I'm ready now to pour this on. I don't want to put too much on them because I don't really want it dripping too much down the sides and making bits underneath. I haven't taped them off. I very rarely bother now to tape things off because I find that if I don't over pour, then I'm normally okay. So I'll pour a bit on, let that get itself moving. Let's pour a little bit more on that one. And then what I do is I take my plastic palette knife and I just move it around until it's all covered If it needs a bit more on it, then I'll pop a bit more on it. If it doesn't, then I won't. They're all finished now. I've gone over them with my torch. I'm really happy with them. They're not dripping underneath. And now all I've got to do is cover them up to ensure that nothing gets on them, or as little as possible gets on them. Something always manages to get on them, before I show you what they look like with the hooks on the back and hanging up. These have been curing overnight. Oh, and I'm really pleased how they've come out. They look great. So, there we go. They're nice and shiny and protected. There is a little drip on the back there, but that's nothing I can't deal with. There we go. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the hooks to the back. So I always have a selection of these D picture hooks, and they're really, really useful because you can screw them on or you can glue them on. Now, as this is only a thin piece of wood, I'm not going to be able to screw them on. So what I will do is I will find the center of here, and then I will use UV resin to glue them on. So I've marked on there where I want them. Now check it's up the right way. Always double check it because I know what I'm like. And then all I need to do is to pop a bit of UV resin. You can use other glues. I like UV resin for this because it sticks really well. Pop that there so it's in that center bit. There we go. And I'm quite happy with that. And then just cure it. There we go. So that's nice and secure on there. So now that's secure, all I'll do is I will take a permanent marker, like so. I will put my signature on it, and then I will put the date. There we go, that's them hanging up now. I think they've come out really, really well. And it just goes to show that you can use coaster blanks and create some really nice little pictures that can go on a wall. They've come out very, very well. So, I hope you like this video. Please hit the like and subscribe if you do, and post some pictures of whatever you make on my Resin Facebook group, How to Resin with Steve McDonald. It's a great group, very, very friendly, and we love seeing other people's work. Check out my Patreon account. The link is in the description below. Every little bit helps. Every donation or subscription really does help keep this channel going and allows me to keep bringing you these great tutorials and ideas. I'm very grateful for the patrons I already have. Thank you very much indeed. Most appreciated. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Enjoy your resin. Bye.